Welcome to Lost in Revision. All of our content is public domain fairy tales and folklore. We are here to celebrate the original literature instead of just reading the modern sanitized versions. We post short segments of stories daily for people who just want a story to follow along with, and monthly full episodes where we read and discuss popular classics. Come and find us on Patreon to listen to the full chapters early and without interruption. Any support you can offer helps keep this podcast going and you entertained. All of our music is by Nathan Hubble and is used with his permission. Thanks, and enjoy the show.
Chapter 9. The Pride of Perks. Part 3. Mrs. Perks only sobbed. The Perks children, now as shiny-faced as anyone could wish, stood at the wash-house door and scowled at the intruders. There was a silence, an awkward silence. "Don't you like it?" said Peter again, while his sisters patted Mrs. Perks on the back. She stopped crying as suddenly as she had begun. There, don't you mind me. I'm all right," she said. "Like it? Why, it's a birthday such as Perks never had, not even when he was a boy and stayed with his uncle, who was a corn chandler in his own account. He failed afterwards. Like it? Oh." And then she went on and said all sorts of things that I won't write down because I'm sure that Peter and Bobby and Phyllis would not like me to. Their ears got hotter and hotter, and their faces redder and redder at the kind things Mrs. Perks said. They felt they had done nothing to deserve all this praise. At last Peter said, "Look here, we're glad you're pleased, but if you go on saying things like that, we must go home. And we did want to stay and see if Mr. Perks was pleased too, but we can't stand this." "I won't say another word," said Mrs. Perks with a beaming face, "but that needn't stop me thinking, need it? For if ever—" "Can we have a plate for the buns?" Bobby asked abruptly. And then Mrs. Perks hastily laid the table for tea, and the buns and the honey and the gooseberries were displayed on plates, and the roses were put in 2 glass jam jars, and the tea-table looked, as Mrs. Perks said, fit for a prince. "To think," she said, "May getting the place tidy early, and the little uns getting the wildflowers and all, when never did I think there'd be anything more for him except the ounce of his pet particular that I got o' Saturday, and I've been saving up for him ever since. Bless us, he is early." Perks had indeed unlatched the latch of the little front gate. "Oh," whispered Bobby, "let's hide in the back kitchen, and you tell him about it. But give him the tobacco first, because you got it for him, and when you've told him, we'll all come in and shout many happy returns." It was a very nice plan, but it did not quite come off. To begin with, there was only just time for Peter and Bobby and Phyllis to rush into the wash-house, pushing the young and open-mouthed Perks children in front of them. There was not time to shut the door, so that, without at all meaning it, they had to listen to what went on in the kitchen. The wash-house was a tight fit for the Perks children and the Three Chimneys children, as well as all the wash-house's proper furniture, including the mangle and the copper. "Hello, old woman," they heard Perks's voice say. "There's a pretty set out." "It's your birthday tea, Bert," said Mrs. Perks, "and here's an ounce of your extra particular. I got it a Saturday, along with your happening to remember it was your birthday today." "Good old girl," said Mr. Perks, and there was the sound of a kiss. "But what's that pram doing here? And what's all these bundles? And where did you get the sweet stuff? And—" The children did not hear what Mrs. Perks replied, because just then Bobby gave a start, and put her hand in her pocket, and all her body grew stiff with horror. "Oh," she whispered to the others, "whatever shall we do? I forgot to put the labels on any of the things. He won't know what's from who. He'll think it's all us, and that we're trying to be grand or charitable or something horrid." "Hush," said Peter. And then they heard the voice of Mr. Perks, rather loud and angry. "I don't care," he said. "I won't stand it, and so I'll tell you straight." "But," said Mrs. Perks, "it's them children you make such a fuss about. The children from the Three Chimneys." "I don't care," said Perks firmly. "Not if it was a hangel from heaven. We've got on all right all these years, and no favours asked. I'm not going to begin with these sort of charity goings-on at my time of life, so don't you think it, Nell." "Oh, hush," said poor Mrs. Perks. "Bert, shut your silly tongue, for goodness' sake. The all 3 of 'em's in the wash-house and listening to every word you speaks." "Then I'll give 'em something to listen to," said the angry Perks. "I've spoke my mind to them afore now, and I'll do it again," he added, and he took 2 strides to the wash-house door and flung it wide open, as wide, that is, as it would go, with the tightly packed children behind it.
Thank you for joining us today. I would like to thank all of our supporters on Patreon. Your support helps pay for all of the things that podcasting requires and helps keep this show alive and growing. Feel free to fact check us and offer suggestions to make our show better for you. You can send us an email at lostinrevisionpodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow and give us a good review anywhere you listen, and share with your friends and family.
There's a lot more waiting for us all at the end of the road.